Now, one of the things I found interesting when we're talking about the sexual market value is you made a point of reference in just speaking of generally in a modern society, and especially in a Western society for the most part, a male's sexual market value can be or is or generally quantified by his, his possessions or his position and stuff like that. However, there's so many studies I've come across, and especially some of the things in the polls and some people sharing their experiences and stuff like that, where when we're talking about the black man in himself, just being a black man, has a high sexual market value just by being the black man. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get every woman, but it means even in terms of the powers and the stuff what you possess and just the being that you are on this planet, there's a high sexual market value, because in the fact no other races or ethnicity gonna really do what you gonna do and bring what you can bring forth into the planet in forms of new life, a new generation, no matter what type of female and that you get with. So, and as we see even in today's society nowadays, it was one of the things I explored in my last podcast, whether a lot of these women actually want to be with the black man for his being, or if they just want him for his seed, so that's another point I was touching on, and a lot of them they do some stuff that's so crazy just to get the seed. They got a big sexual market value just in that seed of the black man alone. So that was a point I wanted to make.
Yeah, well, leading on from that, I mean, we talked about gender now. We can move the discussion on now. I think that for the black male in a white environment, in the dating market, it can be quite tough. I think, and it's just my perspective, I don't think the black male is as highly rated in the dating scene as a lot of black males like to think.
Yeah,
now, this is based on my experience, based on people I speak to's experience. It's based on what I see, right? I used to spend a lot of times in the clubs, and an average white guy can get an attractive female quite comfortably. An equivalent black man will not be able to attract that female in that kind of environment. The black male has to be a superstar. His looks have to be really on point. His game has to be on point. His finances and resources have to be on point, So I just, in my opinion, if you're a black male in a white environment in the dating game, whether it be in real life or online, it can be a struggle. I think online it's even worse, because online all you have is a picture. They can't see your personality,
Very true.
So I think online it's even worse, to be honest with you. I think a lot of, and that's why I know because I experienced this in my younger days, people I used to be friends with, a lot of black males struggle in the white arena. And I think that's why a lot of them kind of leave that arena and kind of come back to you know what I mean?
No, yeah, I understand. I mean, especially in to touch on that, you're right. In a predominantly white environment, it's always going to be more frowned upon for them to deviate with a black person.
Exactly.
For the person who does it,
they might like you, but they're worried about the family, the friends, the social stigma, or even something subtle as stares and looks.
Of course.
I mean, you might walk down the street with her and people start looking and they won't say anything, but there's this prolonged eye contact.
Yeah,
and that's why it puts a lot of women off. I know this because they've confirmed it to me.
And I like to go deep with people. Of course, and the crazy thing is, just to touch on that, it's not only in that aspect of just because often, especially in life, we get put against each other in opposites, and everything's always presented as black and white. However, when in terms of denoting those labels, we're not only seeing sides of this in black and quote unquote white couplings. When I'm white Caucasian, we see it with Asians, we see it with most other non-black ethnicities that black people mix with. There is a lot of that. I've had experiences myself in the past with people of the Pakistani community and stuff like that as well, and it's the same. You will get the you're gonna get looks, you're gonna get, in some cases, maybe even threats, in some cases maybe even more. So there is a huge exasperation on people not wanting, I guess, black males to be dating women of their cultures. Would that be fair to say?
I think there's also an issue as well, a deeper issue of the gene pool. So it's not just things like looks and stares and that kind of thing. It's like a lot of people think, if you know, if a black male comes in to infect one of our women, they're infecting our gene pool.
Of
Do you know what I mean?
I think so. I mean,
There's a deeper aspect of it as well.
yeah, I mean that's
A lot of
been
people don't
spoken
realize
about.
that. I know someone like you would.
Yeah, I
You
mean we've
don't
heard
realize
very
that.
much similar things from scholars and stuff in the past, and I mean the way I see it is, you know, a lot of us we grow up in multicultural societies for the most parts and for what they worth, and you know we have friends of of other nationalities, we have friends of other ethnicities, you know, other creeds and all of that stuff, you know, especially in 2020, we have literally everything. But for the
Mm,
most parts, what you generally see is a homogeneous replication in terms of how people mate and how people breed. So and especially if we're dealing with some communities that are very, very selective in how they choose to breed. And in their birth control, they do a lot of interbreeding and stuff. So you know, that's why in some cultures there's a high proportion of people who are, you know, cousins and first cousins at that and stuff, and you know, they will interbreed with each other and stuff. But for the most parts, what's behind it, as you touched on, is the genetics, because what they're doing in a sense is trying to preserve, I guess, the genetics that they have. And why I touched on saying we've all got friends of different nationalities, because most of our friends, for the most part, the ones that have kids, their kids probably look like them. So there's an
exactly.
inherent thing where they want to have kids and generate something that looks like themselves and doesn't look too different, you know. So if they're coming from a gene pool or a long gene pool of what they all they know is just what exists amongst themselves in that culture, and then they, you know, they're gonna see, oh well, you know, we're gonna taint that with some chocolate. Say, nah.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want that. And I think a huge part of that is down to how, you know,
How
the
strong the
black
Afro gene is.
and how the black male is viewed in society, you know, constantly
Mm,
demonized and stigmatized at a point where, you know, you got to understand we live in a society where for the most parts some people may know some stuff, some people may not, but for a lot of people they act like or they feel like blacks for the most part have little to no real contribution towards the betterment of this planet. And that even goes with saying the past contributions that have been made by our ancestors and forefathers, these things that are completely ignored most of the times. You know, people
mm,
act as though their average perception of a black person is like you worthless, like you ain't come from a great lineage, or you haven't even you know, got the competence to accomplish certain things that they've accomplished. So I think because that sort of stigma exists between a lot of people, you know, down to just sheer ignorance, and some of them
exactly.
it's a want of ignorance, some it's just a
Mm.
lack of understanding. So you know, but with that being said,
I mean, just touching on what you said then, there's
okay,
an author called Martin Jack who's done an article called The Hierarchy of Race. And he talks, I don't know if you're familiar with that
I'll
article.
check, I will check it out at some
Yeah,
point, but go ahead, bro.
yeah, the hierarchy of race. And he talks about what you've just said then. So there is a hierarchy of race. And in most areas around the world, people of African descent are seen as at the bottom of the pile, almost
Of course.
everywhere in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
And people of European descent are seen as at the top, and then everyone else is kind of in between, in the middle. And this is the perception even today. And this is perception even more so 50 years ago, 100 years ago. It's always been the case. And I think a lot of that is down to development. If you look at Africa today, many would say that it's the least developed continent on the planet, despite having the most natural resources. So these are the kind of reasons why a lot of people view people of African descent. And I'm not just talking about Africans, I'm talking about black people in general,
Of
Caribbean,
course.
America, Brazil,
Yep.
India,
The whole diaspora.
how that's, yeah, exactly, as bottom of the pile because of development. You
Mm.
know, the argument is, well, look at European countries, look at their wealth, look at, you know, what they're like, look at
But
African countries, look what they're like.
when we draw that back into development, then, because you know, some would say one of the most important parts of development is is initially starts at home. So having that firm family foundation and dynamic. You know, we
Mm,
often hear about slavery and colonialism, and even things
mm,
like the infamous Willie Lynch letter and psychological tools and things that have been said to have been put in place to disrupt even the black family. So when we talk about the black man, we're talking, okay, you've been ostracized by your own woman. You can't really get the black woman as such without catching hell. And then you're going to try to catch some other women, you're going to catch hell too. So with that being said, where does the black man then develop? Because when we're talking about developing and going forward, some say, you know, a true aspect of development is with a family, you know, having a wife and, you know,
Mm.
just the way the good Lord intended. And, you know, you get together and you build your community and stuff. Where does that then correlate back into modern dating? Because how do we redress some of these issues, or how do we develop? Does that development just start with ourselves, as we were saying earlier, and then, you know, maybe then step by step into developing into relationships, or what tools can we sort of put in place to aid us along this journey?
Yeah, well, so relating this back to the modern dating, and it goes back to what I kind of said at the start as well. Every man, especially if you're a black man, you have to be the best version of yourself. That is as simple as that. You have to be the best version of yourself in every single area: mental, physical, financial, social. You've got to be the best version of yourself, right? And if every person, every black male can be the best version of themselves, it'll help to kill these stereotypes that exist. It'll help to kill
Amen.
these negative mentalities that other races have of us. So that's what we've got to do. We've got to elevate ourselves. No one else is going to do it for us. We've got to elevate ourselves to get higher. You know, too many people want to conform to a stereotype, which is negative. Why? You know, this drill. A lot of people doing drill music. They're deliberately trying to conform to a stereotype. I don't think you should do that. In my opinion, try and be the best version of yourself. Elevate yourself to a higher level. And when you do that, you'll be able to attract a good mate. This is my opinion.
So evolution, really, what we're talking about is evolving. You know, constantly reinventing yourself, taking control and shape of your destiny and where you want to go.
Exactly. Take control.
Yep.
You
Well,
want
I
to be
think,
in the driving seat, not the passenger.
and but
You want to be
you know,
control
and
the
some
direction your
say
life takes.
that's the position naturally for the man to be in control. You know,
Of
we did
course.
hear, you know, a lot in the feminist community and stuff that say that's not the way. And if, you know, what about those that say nowadays, you know, you try and put your woman in a good
What
position,
I'd say to
quote
that,
unquote, and they call it toxic masculinity. They're saying, you guys are being toxic now, and, you know, you should just let us, the women, do whatever they want and run things, and, you know.
no. So what I'd say to what you just said then is, in every relationship, there has to be masculine energy and feminine energy. In every relationship, there has to be a dominant person and a submissive person, right? And the masculine person has to be the male, the feminine person has to be the female. The dominant person has to be the male, the submissive person has to be the female. That's not toxic masculinity. That's just how a relationship should be. It talks
What's
about this in the Bible. The
some of
man should lead.
some they
The
play the
man should lead.
game, man.
And this is the truth. This is the truth, right? A lot of women say things like, oh, toxic masculinity, the woman should be able to do what she wants. Well, no, because when a woman says, oh, she should be able to do what she wants, what she wants to do, she wants to be able to cheat on you and do what she wants behind your back without you holding her accountable.
Yeah,
That's what
of
it
course,
is.
exactly. I was
That's
well,
exactly what it is.
yep.
If, if that's exactly what they want to be able to just run behind your back, shag Tyrone and Chad and all these other guys behind your back, and then come back to you and use your resources without you holding her accountable for it, without you checking her for it. That's what that is. So a man who checks his woman, who keeps tabs on her, right, knows what she's up to, know where she is, that kind of thing. That's not toxic masculinity. That's just a woman. That's just a man who is in charge of the relationship and
Keeping you
doesn't
in it.
allow his woman to do what she wants. And what I'd say to that as well
Mm.
is, would you leave your house and leave your door open? You wouldn't, would you? You do every precaution you can to make sure your house doesn't get burgled. Your house could still get burgled.
Mm.
Your house could still get burgled, but you do everything you can to try and reduce the risk of your house being burgled. And it's the same with the woman. You want to reduce the opportunity your woman has to cheat, right? It's not going to 100% stop it, but you
Well,
want to reduce the risk. So you check her when she's not right. You keep tabs on her, not follow her around, but you keep tabs and know what's going on. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I
There's
know,
nothing wrong with that.
I know, I hear what you're saying, and I know people gonna have mixed views on that. Some gonna say what I found was funny, because the correlation I was saying about not leaving your door open. And I thought it's kind of the opposite with some of these girls, because it ain't even the case of you leaving the door open. It's them leaving the door open when you got and letting somebody else in. So,
Yeah,
you know, I
it's
mean,
true.
I've been in circumstances in the past where, you know, I've been with females that have been completely responsive to how I am, you know, played the submissive role and stuff, and been like, you know, yeah, that's how it is. And then as soon as they found somebody who would put up with their BS, they jump ship. So
It's called monkey branching. It's called
Yeah,
monkey wrenching. So
you
they
got,
move on to the next guy. And once the next guy's given them the green light, they're interested, then they move on from you to him.
yeah. You
That's what
know,
they do.
so you can't win, man. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So the main thing, you gotta keep it true and keep it real to yourself, you know, and keep it real to the Most High. And I think that's the main thing. A lot of the females